Hey, hey. I
Hey.
never know what to say when that starts recording. I'm always like, so I am really excited about February in general. I love
hmm
in the past when we've done these like We Rise Together challenges. I think it is fun. I know that the gift cards are like a nice little sprinkle touch, but like I actually just love the engagement. So like if I have to dangle some gift cards in there, I'm here for it because what
100%.
I love to do is watch the moms be like, okay, gift card. It gives it a little nudge.
Yeah.
But then I feel like I get to start really seeing moms starting to come out of their bubble a little bit.
hmm
So, like, just to highlight that for people that are watching later, like, get involved in this. Okay. Yes, it's not just about an Amazon gift card, but like, it is nice. It's fun to be in a raffle, but pay
Amen.
attention to these weekly tasks. I did actually put a lot of thought into them. And
hmm
my biggest goal for the month was really just for us to pause like once a
hmm
day, just once a day, and think about us in a way, like in a loving way. I think
hmm
so much of our time is spent like looking through pictures of our kids, like staring at our kids and our families, hope like and hopefully with that, like the gratitude, but when
hmm
does that happen for us?
hmm
Like when are we spending the time this month just saying like, whoa, like look at me.
hmm
So that's really where this whole thing came from. So definitely check out the featured section for just more like details, but I'm excited. I hope more people definitely get involved this month. But so accomplishments outside of motherhood and
hmm
identity, which is interesting coming from a mom's group because
Yeah.
we're coming together with a common identity.
hmm
However, also pushing each other to think outside of that one role that we play as moms.
hmm
So
For
I guess
sure.
accomplishment, like I think that one, let's get that one done first. And if you're listening, like I would love for you to like comment, like if you feel like you have something, definitely get it in its own post for that like February stuff, but comment back down below this and let us know like just what you're proud of. I had to give this
hmm
one some thought. I've been sharing like a little bit in the group too, but I want it to be just a little bit like reflective with my accomplishment. And I guess it's so hard to capture, isn't it? Like
It
I'm
is.
trying to think of a word. Like, I'll be honest, like I'm pretty gritty. And
hmm
I think that that is something that outside of motherhood, I'm proud of. Like I definitely can say, and it's gonna sound a little cocky, but I'm like okay with that because I think this is a safe place for that right now. Like
Yeah.
I can honestly say, like, when I set out to do something, I do it.
hmm
And like I mean there's definitely challenges along the way and I'm working on my internal dialogue on these journeys so that it's like always
hmm
like a healthful transformation throughout the process. But like I feel like in my life, whether it be becoming a teacher, leaving teaching, starting my own business, like I really do try to like manifest these things and then put a
hmm
plan into place that makes them come to fruition, which I do. I kind of pride myself with that. Like I believe in myself enough that I know if I want something bad enough, like I'm going to get it.
hmm
So
I love
I'm
that.
gonna leave that one. Yeah. What do you think, Alex?
Well, this is tough for me. I feel like I'm super black and white on certain things. So I'm like, okay, what specifically do you mean? Are we talking about short term accomplishments? Are we talking about long term accomplishments? Are we talking about personality traits? So my head kind of goes in many different categories, right? And I think that's also because I'm trying to shift in my head that perfectionistic, right? So I'm always looking for what somebody else is looking for, right? Instead of so that to me is one of my accomplishments. I think in the last year is changing how I think about things. I still have a lot of work to do, but I'm showing up differently in different moments in my life now. And that quote, I think it's is it Albert Einstein who says it? Like the definition of its insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
And I had to reach a point in my life where I was like, okay, I can't change external factors, but I can change me.
Boom.
And how I show up in the moment now changes the outcome in all different scenarios of my life. Um, that regardless would have been positive or would have been negative, but aren't negative anymore. So I think that's like my overarching personal growth. I think if we're talking about week's accomplishments, this week I actually got outside and took walks every day. I've
Yeah.
really been moving my body a lot, just getting fresh air, sunlight. I think my neighbor thought I was crazy yesterday when I was like, hey, can't talk, gotta go chase the sun. And she was like, what? And Riley in the stroller just pushing her up the hill, trying to get towards the sunlight just to get that last bit of UV rays. So that was definitely accomplishment for the week. Um, and yeah, you and I are in similar boats with the career changing. That does take guts. Um, and it's hard, right? Like there's self-doubt.
Oh,
There's,
yeah.
I mean, I had for the longest time in my head, like, can I even do anything outside of teaching? Do
Hmm.
I have skills that would transfer to any other space? Would anyone even want to hire me? Like all this negative self-talk around that, and just a lot of self-doubt, and kind of just like breaking through that to take that leap, right? That's my 2024 word is leap. And that to me was a big win, and I'm definitely noticing things about myself that are possible in my new career, which are pretty cool. And yeah, I know you said like, oh, maybe it might sound cocky, but hey, I'm all about the self-love in this season of my life. Like anytime I feel like, whoa, that's really cool, I just did that, I have a brag journal.
I love
I
it.
write down in my brag journal how awesome I am. And then if I'm having one of those days where that self-doubt is creeping in, I open my brag journal and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, let's pivot, right? So, yeah, I think those are some of my big wins.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm grateful because I feel like I've like watched some of these with you. It's fun. It's really kind of
Yeah.
cool. I like that community and connection that we're starting to build in here because it's really cool to watch somebody like evolve. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it is. I've seen, I mean, you've done a lot of work. Good for you. No, I love all of that. And it's funny because I think as humans, we're so quick to look at where we need work. Like we're so quick
Mm-hmm.
to be like, I need to be better at this. I need to do this. But like, how many times do we sit down and think like, what do I do really well?
Mm-hmm.
What are my strengths? Because in reality, like I talk about energies a lot, which I know isn't for everybody, but like and take what you want from this. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
stuck on this hamster wheel and you literally just feel like a salmon swimming up a stream, don't ignore
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Do not ignore that feeling. Like there is a reason why you feel like you're stuck in somebody else's life because you're trying to live a life that's not supposed to be yours. Like I really do believe that we have a purpose, and I think all of us have different purposes. And I think that that
Yes.
feeling of like this doesn't feel right. I think that we need to
Mm-hmm.
be better at navigating that and listening to it, because if we could just focus on our strengths and what we did really well and say to yourself, like, stay in your lane
Mm-hmm.
instead of spending your energy trying to get better at things that kind of arbitrary, right? Like, don't worry about the weaknesses. Like, just really focus on your strengths. Because I think that at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, it has helped me find my purpose in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways, because it's not that we don't want to get better in certain areas, right? But a lot of my energy used to be trying to like fill up cups that in reality I'm like, I don't really like to drink that stuff, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to shift and like, let's focus on what we do really well and like ride those horses to see where they lead us. Because sometimes those weaknesses really like they're not weaknesses. They're just things that maybe we don't even need to spend time on, you know?
Or it's the frame.
Mm-hmm.
right? How many times do we paint a negative frame around something that maybe could be a strength in a different space,
Yep.
but is maybe maladaptive in another?
Ooh, like the
And
not
so
yet. Yeah.
yeah, we frame ourselves negatively in certain scenarios because the outcome was negative or it didn't lead to where we wanted it to be. But if we took those characteristics or those skills or whatever and put them in a different space with a new lens,
Yep.
it could be your asset, right? Like it could be your win. Um, I definitely think that's something. I love the idea that you're leaning into your strengths. I definitely think that I'm somebody who um I don't want to say focuses on the negatives, but kind of.
I think
Yeah,
you
like
actually do.
yeah, like I like put myself under a microscope at times.
Hmm.
Um and I call it squeeze theorem because in mathematics you look at two functions and your goal is to try to squeeze them to reduce error. And that's how my brain works. It's like squeezing the gap to find the minimal error for myself. And I have to try to like pull back
Absolutely.
and be like, okay, pick a thing. I always want to make sure I'm growing, but what's my aim? And then let that be the main focus for now and let those other things just sit,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the other thing too. And then, like you said, find those areas of strength and start focusing, like redirect your focus on that.
Absolutely.
Super helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, and I'm curious to know what other people are doing in their lives. Like, where's the shift? And honestly, if you're feeling like you're stuck and you're that salmon, like I know that we've talked about this before, Alex, like please reach out to us because I love to
Mm-hmm.
talk. And it's not from a place of a pedestal either. It's more just this aspect of like sometimes talking these things through with somebody, it really kind of can set you down some paths that maybe you don't realize like really are lying there in front of you, you know?
Definitely.
Let's shift a little bit. So let's do the identity here. Just because I know we don't have too much time, and this could be its own like book.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, identity. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is going to be different depending on what stage of motherhood that you're in. So like whether or not you are pregnant or you're like waiting for your, like maybe even adopted parents or newborns, toddlers, like whatever stage you're in, this can look different. And I think
Mm-hmm.
identity is always shifting as a mom. So I want to start by saying, like, there actually is nothing wrong with submersing yourself in motherhood. I don't ever want someone
Mm-hmm.
to think that I'm saying that because I'm not. Here's the key here. Like, if you are fulfilled and your cup is full,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing exactly what you should be doing. Now, swinging the pendulum the other way, if you are a mom that really enjoys their job and being a mom. Like that's beautiful. If you
Mm-hmm.
love being somebody outside of your home with another identity, that's also like a beautiful thing, and it's okay to be a working mom, part-time, full-time, whatever that works. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to sometimes want more than just being a mom. Like, so I feel like it really is individualized with that. And I just wanted to be clear about it because when we talk about like motherhood and identity, I think it really is going to come back to that self-awareness of like where you are in life
Mm-hmm.
and being able to check in with yourself. Like, am I fulfilled? Am I not lacking? Like, am I missing something? Like, is there maybe a community aspect that I'm really kind of
Mm-hmm.
craving, even just like an authentic friendship out there? Is there some
Mm-hmm.
personal development that I'm looking for? So it's like really being able to just check in with yourself in that
Mm-hmm.
because I know I've been through phases where I feel like I've definitely cloaked myself like in motherhood. Almost
Mm-hmm.
even honestly, sometimes it's even comforting for me. Like if I go
Mm-hmm.
to like parks and stuff, sometimes you just want to be mom that day. Like and there's some days where I just want to be mom and I like
Mm-hmm.
that role. And then there's also days where like I'm ready for a little more. I'm ready to
Mm-hmm.
get myself into rooms with like other adults or other women, other moms. Like I think that that's the important part to understand here is like you deserve to be in a container outside of motherhood if that's what you desire.
Mm,
And if you like to just identify as mom right now and that's the stage of life that you're in, like that's also beautiful. So does that make sense, Alex? Like I feel like that's important to know. Like it's okay if you are happy with just mom right now. Like
yeah. And I think there's comfort in knowing that you're not alone if
mhm,
you don't know where you are.
absolutely.
I think that's also like a big part of that shifting. Like you said, that identity is gonna always change. And I think whether you're a mom or not, that will probably be true anyways, right?
Mhm.
Because as you evolve, your needs change. What brings joy or fulfillment to you shift. And it's constantly like coming back to alignment with yourself, right? So I think that's something too is I give myself permission to not know
Mhm.
sometimes, to
Mhm.
live in the question marks and
Mhm.
then use that question marks as information. And I definitely know what you mean by, sometimes I want to be just mom. There was, I wish I remember who posted it, but there was some kind of post by a mom, and it was about be where your feet are. And I keep that with me so much because I do think that sometimes it gets blurred,
Mhm.
right? And you've got your mom hat on, you've got your working hat on, you've got your wife hat on. You're trying to do all these different roles simultaneously.
Oh, yeah.
And that actually is when I feel the least fulfilled.
Hands down agree. Yeah.
So to me, it's the division of self momentarily that reflects on my internal joy in the moment. And I have to remind myself of that. Like sometimes I tell myself, this is how it is right now, and it's momentary, it'll shift.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then other times I consciously make different choices so I can put my feet where they're meant to be in that present moment and stay there as that one role.
What a beautiful
And
that is.
it,
Yeah.
it, it really helps me find presence. And with full presence, I feel fulfilled.
That's like a skill too, though. Like to be able to actually shut down your brain in those areas. I struggle. I struggle hard with that, especially
Mm,
because working from home makes it really
mm-hmm,
hard for me to have that line in the wall. We talked about that last week, like those walls. Like there is this, I sometimes literally have to like almost hide my phone on myself because
100%.
it's time tend to shift, and right now
Yep.
my kids need mom. My kids don't need my brain in another planet essentially, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's a very challenging, however, I that's a groundbreaking practice.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's not happening all the time. It's
Mhm.
something that I have to observe myself in space almost. Like I know it sounds weird, but it's almost like I take
Yeah.
myself out of my body and I look at myself from above and I'm like, where are you at, girl? And then I use that as a check-in. And actually, my daughter started taking our phones away at night. And I started putting my phone occasionally in a drawer in
Mhm.
our dining room. And, I think as a parent in the evenings, I don't know if other parents are like this, but you start to get tired. You reach this point where you're ready to check out. And we don't realize it, but we use our phones as escapism so often. It's really not great. And I think we all do it, right? You like all of a sudden you're feeling exhausted, you take out your phone, you do a quick scroll. And my daughter started saying, no, 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 not phone time. And I didn't correct her. I wasn't like, no, this is my phone. I was like, okay, you're right. And
Absolutely.
she will take it. And I think that's the other thing too is that's something I'm shifting in myself too is being less reactive
Mhm.
and more aware before I react. So at my initial reaction would have been, hey, that's mine.
Yeah.
But I let it sit with me for a second, and I was like, what's the purpose in this space? And who do I want to show up as? And should I take information from her so I can learn? And I
Absolutely.
was like, yes, she is the leader in this moment, and I need to follow her. And I need to give her permission to take control in this moment because she deserves this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I've definitely leaned into that. And I love that it's actually also fostering an idea in her presence and what that looks like and taking control of shifting into mindful presence.
Yeah. And talk about empowerment. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and like for a child to be able to feel like like they're gaining your attention, but in the most like healthful way. You know, like my son has
Mm-hmm.
definitely called me out before of like, Mommy, could you get off your phone now? And I'm like, yes. And I always try to
Yeah.
verbalize that, like, yes, you deserve my attention. And
Mm-hmm.
and I let him watch me put it away because this world's tough, man. Like this is this constant, like you just are on, like I could literally be on my phone 24/7 easily, you know?
Oh yeah.
But it's
Mm-hmm.
just it is very mind numbing. And I feel like it almost takes away of our identity as a mom,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because
Well, you
it,
lose yourself. It's
mhm,
a vacuum.
absolutely. Yeah. No, and I think about this too. And I know, like, kind of just to segue towards the end of this, like, I always think about, and I don't want to ever rush my children. It stresses me out to think about them growing up, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a fact of life that, like, there's going to come a time where, like, my kids are going to need me less and less, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I want to, first off, just make sure that while I have them in this dependent stage, that I am my present self. But, like, thinking about
Mm-hmm.
identity from the lens too of like, the empty nest stage. And if somebody watching this is in that stage, like you can probably speak for this too, but like I don't want my kids to grow up and have me not know who I am without them.
Mm-hmm.
Which sounds kind of crazy because some people really do just throw themselves into motherhood, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in my experience, like in my individuality, like I want to know who I am as Chantal and like always be evolving and learning Chantal.
Mm-hmm.
That like when those days start to come, I'm not like stripped naked of like, what am I supposed to do with myself? You know, like
Yeah.
I feel like that stage, like I guess that's more of a preventative thing for me in this identity and learning myself, because that can be really scary for people. I see it. Like I have a few clients that their kids are, you know, like in that early teens or teenage years, and they sort of hit that like, who am I now?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. And I think too, that thought of time and that fear of time, right? That usually slips in when we aren't being present, right? Or
mhm.
we are feeling divided. And so for me, I remember reading something that says the most fulfilled people live in the now. You don't live backwards or forwards, you live right here. And I do think that that helps me to not doing the like, I'm going to miss this
Yeah, or I wish I did this.
because, yeah, because I'm in it
Hmm,
and
hmm.
I'm living in it with such gratitude. You know what I mean? And on the days where I have those thoughts, I'm like, that means something's out of balance. Adjust.
I
Use that as information.
mhm.
And it's hard, but it is something that I'm trying to practice so that I don't feel that anxiety of what's to come, and also participating in something like this helps me figure out who am I right now.
Mhm, mhm.
But I'm still, I mean, at the beginning of this, before we started recording, I was like, I need more hobbies. So also like still discovering people, still in full discovery. Definitely need more hobbies. So put it in the comments so you can give me some ideas. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I think that that's where I try to keep myself just so that I won't have this fear of regret or or look backwards and wish I was something different, you know?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And I think I've transformed as a mom in that way. Yeah, no, I think that you nailed that. I think that that present mind, it really, it's one of those things where it's like a lot of our anxieties of the future, you're really kind of making assumptions too, you know? And it's like, why are we worrying about something that hasn't happened yet? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like if we can live in the now and control this, like what's in front of us, what's actually in our control, because all the other stuff's not, right? Like we can't change the past, can't do anything
Mm-mm.
about the future. I mean, well, to an extent, but you know what I'm saying. Like the only thing we have direct control over is right now.
Definitely. And I think that grace piece comes in, right?
Mhm.
Like there's definitely some things that I would do differently now that I didn't do at the very beginning.
Mhm.
But I have to grant myself grace and love myself anyways. And that's what I hope to keep with myself as I do evolve. And
Yeah.
I tell myself with my expectation management as a mom, there will be a time in the future where I wish I did something different, and my daughter will also wish I did something different. And I have to accept that. And
Yeah.
if I can accept that, that I won't be aiming towards perfect, I'll be aiming towards human.
Mhm.
And I'll be granting her that grace and that permission to say, you know, if I were going backwards, I probably would have done it this way. But you know what? I recognize I did my best, and that was good enough.
You did. Yeah, you did exactly. And it's like when we know better, we can do better, you know? And it's like you have to forgive yourself for what you did when you didn't know any better. Like you do the best with what you got and you just keep on learning and growing. Yeah. No, and I guess
100%.
I do. I'm sorry, what?
No, I just said 100%.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I would love to think that some of the moms listening are like newer moms because what I
Mm-hmm.
can say is I wish, I mean, I'm about like 4 years in as a biological mom. I'm like 7 or 8 years in as a stepmom, but I wish that I had found a community like this sooner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like and again, I did the best with what I knew at the time, but I hope that this group is a way for moms to grow in whatever stage they are in motherhood. But like I love the idea that someone who's even like a pregnant mom or someone that's expecting a baby, that they can come in here and feel these types of connections earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I there is that, I think that is me kind of thinking like I wish I had done that differently. And I'm hoping
Mm-hmm.
that maybe this group and these conversations and these calls can help moms have their feet on the ground with where they are, you know?
Definitely. That those first stages are super isolating. At least that was my experience. I definitely felt really alone. And it is nice to have a community. And I think, knowing that you're growing beside people, like you said, it's us chatting about this isn't coming from a place of like we've mastered these skills, right? It's like we've brought things into our awareness and we continue to bring new things into awareness for one another so that we can continue to grow. And then it's just trying and practicing and adjusting as often as you can, but it's not a mastered skill.
And you know what else is beautiful too? And like I'll leave on this note is like it really depends on your learning style. You know, like if you're
Mm-hmm.
somebody like us who likes to talk things out, hop on a live with us. Sorry, you're gonna hear Liam. He's okay. He's with my husband. But like hop on a live and do this with us. If you're somebody that's auditory, listen to the recordings, you know, digest it at your
Mm-hmm.
own time. Like if you're someone that's just kind of dabbling in and out, like decide what works for you. But like I think that that's kind of a cool process too, is like lean into this community and like kind of do with it whatever works and whatever fits for you,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So
Definitely. Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
I always appreciate you.